What's up, guys? Welcome back. Leo Pazzo Productions. Thank you very much for tuning in. In today's video, we're going to be having a closer look at this brand new PTZ camera controller, which is made by Avkans, and the model of this controller is called the Power Joy. It is jam-packed with a bunch of features. I'm going to get you guys more familiar with this controller, the specs, the features, how to set it up, how to use it, how to control it. Literally, I'm going to kind of share with you guys everything I can. So there's going to be a lot of information in this video. And with that being said, it might be a little bit on the longer side, this video. So to help you guys out, I will leave some video timestamp chapters down into the description, which is going to help you navigate to that specific topic and section of the video so you guys can just easily get to the information that you want, or even reference later on into the future, just in case you might have forgot on how to do something. I do have all of this equipment here that I'm using today, and that being said, let's go ahead, have a closer look at the controller itself, and let's get started. All right, guys, so having a closer look over here at the back of the controller, starting off onto the left-hand side, we do have the power on and off switch. Just next to that, we do have the DC 12-volt power input to supply power to this controller. Next over here, we do have a USB-C connection, which will be used for the firmware upgrades. Next over here into the middle, we do have the RS-232, which is going to support protocols, for an example, Pelco D, Pelco P, and Visca protocols. Next over here, we do have the Tally Light GPIO port. Over here, we do have the RS422/485 connection, which is going to support protocols, for an example, Pelco D, Pelco P, and Visca protocols. And finally, over here, we do have the LAN network connection, which also supports PoE, so we can actually power this device via this RJ45 connection over here by not only just providing it with a network IP address, but also powering the device at the same time, which means you will not need exactly the DC input. So you have multiple different ways of powering this device over here. So now that you're a little bit more familiar with the connections that we have over here at the back, let's go ahead and jump in to get a little bit more familiar with the controller itself. All right, guys, so here's a closer look at my setup for today's video using the Power Joy controller. Again, this is a 4D joystick controller, which can connect up to 255 cameras and also being able to save approximately 255 presets, which is actually incredible. I don't know who's using up to 255 cameras. In this video, I actually have 3 cameras connected. Starting off onto the left-hand side, we have the Avkans LV20 NDI, which does support 20 times zoom, optical zoom, and also supports NDI, HX2, HX3, etc. Over here onto the right-hand side, we do have the Avkans E20 NDI as well, which does have a 20 times optical zoom along supporting with NDI, and also different protocols for being able to connect to this controller. So a little bit more about the controller. We do have a 5-inch display screen, color display screen. It is not a touch screen, which is actually a nice feature. So what is so nice about this display screen? Well, it's going to give us actually a preview of our cameras, a video preview of our cameras. So right now, just kind of getting you guys a little bit more familiar, we are set to camera number 1, which is this camera over here, and camera number 2 is this camera over here. And I also do have another camera set to camera number 3, which is the OBSBOT Tail 2. We'll have a closer look at that one shortly. So camera number 1, you can see we have some information here on the display screen. It is connected via Visca IP. There's the IP address of the camera. It is camera number 1, and it is also labeled as the camera right over here, the LV20 NDI. So a little bit closer look over here at the display screen right towards the middle, you can see that we actually do have further controls for each one of the PTZ cameras that we have connected. For an example, we can control the white balance over here, the red and the blue controlling of the white balance, or we can also set it to auto white balance right over here, or even use the one push white balance right over there. But for an example, if I wanted to control the white balance, we can just go ahead and use this knob over here. You can see right now the red is set to 8, but if I wanted to, I can go ahead and adjust this either up or down and set it exactly how I want to set the manual white balance myself. And for me to control the blue, just go ahead and simply press down onto this little knob, and now the blue is highlighted over here. You can see number 8, and I can control that just like this. via the knob over here. So I have everything kind of set to one push white balance, which basically means that I'm kind of using like a manual white balance. I told the camera, I pointed the camera at something white and basically configured the white balance like that. So I don't need any further controls for the white balance at this time. Next over here, we do also have more control of this camera as far as the gain, which is like the ISO of the camera. We do also have control of the iris, the aperture, and also the shutter as well. So full exposure over here, manual controls, or if we wanted to, we can use auto exposure right over here and let the camera decide as far as the exposure. So as we move down a little bit more over here onto the display screen, onto the left hand side, we do have PT speed, which is going to allow us to adjust our pan and tilt speed. So how do we do that? Well, we can just go ahead and simply press this button over here to toggle between the different options. So if I wanted to control the pan tilt speed, I can now use this dial over here and bring it all the way down to, for an example, to 10%. So it's going to be very slow. And increments of 5, I can bring it up to whatever speed I want to as far as the pan and the tilt speed. So next over here into the middle, we have the zoom speed. So how do I control the zoom speed? Well, we need to bring basically the controls now from the pan tilt. We need to bring them over here to the zoom speed. So for us to do that, just press on this little knob over here. And now we have the zoom speed currently set to 100, but if I wanted to, I can dial this down to whatever zoom speed I want to use. Next over here, let's come over to focus speed. So let's go ahead and highlight that in blue over here. And now here is the focus speed. And now we can adjust this focus speed as well right over here if you want to manually control the focus. How do you manually control the focus? Well, with this button right over here, near and far, we can adjust the focus via manual controls. So just going back over here towards the top, remember we were talking about the exposure and auto exposure and whatnot. Well, let's say I wanted to actually control my gain or iris and shutter. How do I do that? Which is going to be done right over here with this middle dial, which is labeled as iris/shutter. So let's go ahead and click on this, and you're going to see as I click on it, it's toggling between the different options over here. So let's start off back over here at gain. So I can adjust the gain of the camera, basically the ISO of the camera, just like that, up or down. Okay, and next, if I wanted to adjust the iris of this specific camera, I just go ahead and click on that, and now the iris, the aperture is highlighted in blue. Currently it's set to 3, and I can adjust the aperture of that camera as well, which is affecting the exposure. And next over here, if I wanted to adjust the shutter, for an example, right now it's set to 6, but I can increase this or decrease it to wherever I want to manually control the exposure. And that's how I have this camera set up to manual exposure. So now that you guys are a little bit more familiar with the information that we have onto the display screen, and you can see that I'm selected camera number 1, which is this camera, let's go ahead and get a little bit more familiar with this joystick over here. As you see, I have full control of this PTZ camera to either pan and also tilt up, for an example, tilt down. And if I wanted to, as you guys can see, I do have some presets configured over here. So let's go to preset number 1. So what you need to do to actually call up one of the presets, you select the number and then you press the call button. And it's going to go to preset position number 1. Let's call up preset position number 2. So press the number, press call, and it brings you to this position over here onto the right hand side, just a slight little movement. Okay, so now for an example, I want to go to preset number 3, press 3, and then press call. And now that's pointing to something else. So just to go ahead and show you guys that we actually have a quick call feature over here, which basically allows us to call up the presets much quicker. It basically avoids pressing an extra additional button, which is the call. So let's go ahead and enable quick call. Okay, so you can see now it's highlighted in green. So now, for an example, I can press the button without having to press the call button, and it's going to go specifically to that preset. So let's go to 1. See, you just press the button once. Let's press number 2. Here's number 3. We go to 4. And number 5 for an example. Nice and easy, just like that. Nice quick calling up each one of your presets. Okay, so you might be wondering, okay, well, how do you actually save those presets? No problem. So for you to save the presets, you actually need to turn off quick call. Okay, and now you just want to position the camera anywhere you want. So let's just position it over here, kind of let it face me. All right, perfect. That looks pretty good. And now what you want to do is press whatever number preset you want to be saved. So we'll use preset number 6. So let's press 6. And then we're going to press the preset. and bingo, it just saved preset number 6. And to demonstrate that it actually saved it, let's just move this joystick controller. And now let's call up preset number 6 by pressing number 6. And we're going to call that up. And bingo, here you go. We just saved preset number 6. But let's say maybe you wanted to erase or you wanted to clear or reset one of your presets. No problem. Same idea. Select on the number and we're going to click on reset. Bingo. Now it just reset preset number 6. And to demonstrate that, we'll move the PTZ camera somewhere else and we'll call up preset number 6 and see what happens. 6, call. As you see, nothing happened because we just cleared it. Again, if you wanted to save, just to demonstrate again, we'll maybe go to a different position. We'll come over here. Perfect, looks good. We're going to go and save this one. So we want to save it to number 6, 6, and preset. Bingo, just like that. Now it is saved. And to demonstrate that, for an example, let's turn on the quick call and we'll bring up preset number 6, preset number 5, number 4. Okay, so you guys might have noticed sometimes I'm actually pressing the buttons and it's not actually being registered because you need to actually press it nice and firmly. And that's why I actually have the beep setting turned on. You notice every time I kind of press a button, it beeps at me. Well, that's basically a feature that we can turn on or turn off. But in my case, I kind of like to leave it on, at least in this environment that I'm doing right now, because it just kind of confirms, I get an audible indication that that button that I pressed was actually set. So it just kind of gives me a little bit of reassurance hearing the beep, so I know that the controller actually registered the button that I just pressed. So again, preset number 1 will come back over here. So next I wanted to show you that we can actually preview the video signal coming from each one of our cameras connected. So for an example, since we are connected right now to this camera, let's go and preview this camera right over here onto this display screen by pressing this PVW button. So let's go ahead and select that, and bingo, right over here, this is showing me the video signal which this camera is looking at, which this camera is looking at this camera, and that's exactly why we see it. So now if you wanted to, we can basically just use the display screen over here and kind of see exactly what the camera is seeing. So for an example, let's go ahead and turn on quick call, and we're going to go to preset 1. Bingo. Here's preset number 2. Preset number 2 is giving you guys a little zoom in action over here of the PowerJoy controller box. Let's click on preset number 3 over here. There's preset number 3, number 4, spinning all the way around over here to the Osee GoStream Duet 8 ISO video switcher, which is recording this video for me right now to this SSD. And let's go to preset number 5. Preset number 5 is showing you guys over here my external monitor multi-view, which is basically showing me all of my inputs and all of my settings from the GoStream deck. And now simply if you wanted to turn off that preview because you wanted to access some menu settings, you can just go ahead and select the preview button. And now we are over here back onto the main display screen. So now that you guys are a little bit more familiar with some of that information, why don't we go ahead and switch over to this camera right over here to get a little bit more familiar with that. So for us to be able to make that switch, we're going to select on camera number 2. So we'll just go ahead and press that, and it shows that it is successfully connected. And this camera over here, the E20 NDI, is actually connected via NDI, and you can see that right there along with the IP address, camera number 2. We got all of those settings that we have over here as far as the white balance and gain and iris and shutter. You can see the speeds of all of our focus and our zoom and our pan and tilt. So let's go ahead and take control of this camera over here by just simply moving this 4D joystick controller. You can see that it's nice and smooth. We can go up, we can go down, and for us to actually zoom in, which I actually didn't show you guys, let me maybe tilt this up a little bit so you guys can actually see the lens. I think that is pretty good. You guys can see the lens over here of this PTZ camera. So how do you actually zoom in and zoom out? Well, again, with this joystick controller, you just want to go ahead and rotate it, for an example, to zoom in, and you can see the lens moving. And now zooming out, there you go, the lens moved back over here. So now for an example, I've also saved some presets over here with this PTZ camera. So as you see, I have the quick call feature on, so I can just easily and quickly call up any of these presets that I saved. So preset number 1, let's go ahead and select it. I had both cameras set to preset number 1 to face each other, so they're both starting off into the same position and kind of control. Let's go to preset number 2. Preset number 2 is facing in that direction, and preset number 3. But you know what? This might be a little bit helpful to show you guys what this camera is looking at. So why don't we go ahead and activate the preview over here by pressing this preview button. And now this is going to give me a preview for this PTZ camera. So coming back over here to preset number 1. There's preset number 1 looking at this PTZ camera. Here's preset number 2, which is showing you guys one of my external monitors over here, which is showing me my program. And I'm going to go to preset number 3, which is giving you guys a closer look over here of this PTZ controller. And this is actually very close, as you can see, and it's still actually maintaining focus, which means that this camera has a very close focusing distance. Let's go to preset number 4. And preset number 4, here we go, the man of the hour, Leo Potts Productions. And yeah, that's one of my presets that I saved. Let's see if I saved a preset number 5. I can't remember. Nope, no preset number 5. So let's go back to preset number 1. Perfect. All right. So next, let's go ahead and have a closer look at my camera number 3, which is the OBSBOT Tail 2 PTZR camera. Let's go ahead and select on it. Okay, and bingo, just like that, as we have the preview enabled, it's giving me a preview of that PTZ camera that we have over there, the OBSBOT Tail 2. And we have full control of this camera as well. For an example, I can go ahead and pan left and right, and I can go ahead and zoom in. Actually, this camera might be a good idea to zoom in on because it is actually pretty far away from where I'm positioned right now. I'm going to say a good maybe 15-20 feet or so. So let's go ahead and zoom in. Perfect. We're going to move it over a little bit. Autofocus is enabled on this camera, and manual exposure right now, and manual white balance. Okay, so now that you guys are a little bit more familiar with some of the controls and features of this PTZ camera, let's go ahead and talk about how did we actually connect these cameras to the controller. Well, we do have an option over here and a button which is labeled as search, so we can go ahead and select that, and it's going to open up the menu over here underneath the search tab. And over here towards the middle, it's actually listing 3 different options for us to search for. We can search for VSCA IP cameras, on-VIF cameras, or any cameras via NDI. So we'll select onto the first one over here, VSCA IP, and let the controller search for any VSCA IP cameras that are connected onto the same network. And you can see that it found 4 of them listed over here that we can go ahead and scroll down to any one that we want to connect to and start basically configuring some of the settings. So let's go ahead and back out over here using the menu/exit button just to kind of back out. So we just searched for VSCA IP cameras. Let's go ahead and search for maybe any NDI cameras. Let's go ahead and select onto that, and it's searching for NDI cameras. And now in this case, it found 2 cameras via NDI, which are these 2 cameras over here connected to the same IP address. So for an example, if we wanted to connect to this NDI camera, we can just go ahead and select on that, and that's going to bring us up over here onto this page that's going to allow us to configure it in a little bit more detail. So for this demonstration, since these cameras are already connected, I don't want to kind of add multiple of the cameras connected over here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of back out of this, and I'm going to come back over here. Instead of going to the search tab, we're going to scroll down over here to manually add, because that's another option. So we can search for cameras or we can manually add them. So for an example right over here, camera ID number 1, that is this camera. If I scroll down, I can actually give the camera a specific name, which is the model number. I gave it the name of LV20 NDI camera. Next over here, we have the protocol. As you can see, this camera is connected via VSCA IP, but if I wanted to change the protocol for an example, we can switch to any one of these options: Pelco D, Pelco P, VSCA, VSCA IP, on-VIF, and Sony VSCA as well, along with NDI. So for now, for this demonstration, we're just going to leave it on VSCA IP. So now that that is done, it's going to automatically again recognize the IP address of that camera, because remember, it searched for it. But what will not be entered over here is the preview URL. That will just basically be blank. So if you do want to see the preview, remember the video preview from that camera, you need to enter this in yourself manually. So for an example, I just opened this up over here, and I basically just entered the IP address of that camera. So for an example, the same IP address that is listed over here, I just entered it right over there, either using this little wheel over here to select all the different letters or numbers. For an example, we can switch to the numbers by selecting onto the number icon, and now here towards the bottom we have a bunch of different numbers that we can select. Or if you wanted to, you could use these buttons over here at the front for each one of the numbers that you want to select for the IP address. So once that is all configured, you can come over here and select go. That is basically like your enter confirmation button. So you just want to go ahead and select that, and bingo, now we have the preview URL entered over here via the RTSP IP address. Okay, so now that is done. Again, the port was automatically by default 1259. As you see over here, the username and password is not required. It's grayed out along with the address. The serial port, we don't need to configure that because it is grayed out. We're not using that protocol along with the baud rate. So next over here, we got protocol mode. In most cases, for all the cameras that I've been using, I've just been using the protocol mode normal, but we do have the option to select VSCA number 2 or ONVIF number 3. In most cases, for all the PTZ cameras that I've been using with this controller, normal 1 has been good enough. And we can also call up this camera just to kind of make sure that all of the settings that we have configured here, let's see if it's actually able to be called up and connected. So for an example, we can just go ahead and select on it, and it's saying it's connected and now successfully connected, which is good. And now just to go ahead and make sure that all of our settings are saved, we just want to come over here towards the bottom, save and exit. Perfect. So now to exit out of here, for an example, you just press this menu exit button, and it's going to come back over here to this main display screen. Again, camera number 1, which is this camera, is showing that it's successfully connected. And now we have control of this camera. Here's preset number 1, preset number 2, etc. So same idea. Why don't we go ahead back into the menu and see the settings that we have configured for this camera. Let's go to menu. I'm going to scroll down to manually add, which it's already added, but I just want to maybe configure some of the settings. So right now it's showing camera ID number 1. Nope, I don't want camera number 1. I want to adjust camera number 2. That's the camera that I want to control. So camera number 2, it is labeled as camera number 2, which again, I could label it over here for an example as the E20 NDI by just simply selecting on here and entering the numbers and letters, etc. that I want. So we'll just exit out of there. The protocol option, right now it's connected via NDI, but if I wanted to, I could connect this camera via VSCA IP. So maybe why don't we go ahead and do that? Let's select VSCA IP because this camera also supports NDI and VSCA IP. Okay, the preview URL, same idea. Come over here, and all I did was just enter in the RTSP and the IP address of this camera, and now I can view the video preview from this camera. Same thing over here with the IP address. This was going to be automatically detected, and we have the port number, which is by default, and we can scroll down over here and we can just kind of test it out to see if this camera is actually connecting to the controller by pressing the call button, and it says connect successfully. Perfect. And just to confirm, we can go ahead and save and exit. We'll exit out of here, come back to the main display screen, and now you can see that we are connected to camera number 2 via VSCA IP. So let's just confirm by pressing camera number 2. It says successfully connected, and now we have control of this camera via VSCA IP. So as you see right now, this camera is actually moving pretty quickly. So why don't I say, for an example, I wanted to adjust the pan and tilt speed over here onto this controller. Maybe this is a little bit too fast for me. So what we're going to do over here is select this button, because right now it is highlighted on the focus speed. I don't want to adjust the focus. I want to adjust the pan and tilt speed, and we're going to lower this down for an example. Let's go all the way down to the lowest at 10%. And now let's see how much slower this is. This might be better for your needs. Look, I can go full blast onto the joystick and the camera is moving nice and slowly. Or I wanted to maybe crank it up, the pan and tilt speed. I wanted to crank it up to 50% just to kind of give you guys an idea what 50% is like. That is what 50% is looking like. Okay, so maybe to give you guys a little bit better view of what the cameras are actually looking at, I'm going to pull up over here onto the Osee Duet 8 ISO video switcher. I'm going to pull up a multi-view, multi-source input so you guys can kind of see all of my inputs over here between the two cameras and all my other different camera angles. So let's go ahead and switch to that right now. Okay, perfect. So here is the multi-source view coming from the Osee Duet 8 ISO video switcher to kind of show you guys all of the different views that I have connected over here, all the inputs and controls that I have, for an example, to my live stream and in this case to my recording. So onto the top left hand side of this multi-source, you can see myself. To the top right hand side, you can see the top down view over here of the controller and the two cameras, and onto the bottom over here, you guys are actually looking at the view from these PTZ cameras basically being sent via NDI to the Duet 8 ISO. This camera is sending the video signal wirelessly just by simply being onto the same IP address to the Duet 8 ISO video switcher via NDI. And same thing over here with this PTZ camera onto my left hand side, the LV20 NDI. For an example, we're going to go ahead and select onto that, and now we have full control of this camera, and you guys can see that view as well. All right guys, so check this out. We can actually start and stop the auto tracking feature of the PTZ cameras right here onto the controller. So right now, again, we are connected to camera number 2, which is this camera here to the side, the E20 NDI. This camera does not support auto tracking. So what we're going to do over here is press camera number 1, which the LV20 NDI does support the auto tracking. So how do we actually activate the auto tracking on the controller for this PTZ camera? Well, first, let's go ahead and get a little bit closer look over here at these buttons towards the top, which again are labeled as camera 1/F1, camera 2/F2, all the way up to camera 7/F7. So what does that mean? Well, this is a multifunctional button over here. Basically, I can call up the camera, as you guys saw, by just simply short pressing it, or we can actually, for an example, save a function to these buttons over here. Let me go ahead and explain in a little bit more detail. So for an example, for this camera right over here, the LV20 NDI, I actually saved function number 4 and 5 as custom function buttons. So F5 is going to be starting the auto tracking, and the F4 button is actually going to be stopping the auto tracking. So how did I do that within the menu? Let's go ahead and have a closer look. Let's click on this menu exit button, and we're going to go ahead and scroll down over here to custom, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're custom configuring what these function buttons are going to do. So let's go ahead and select on that. And the function key button that I actually want to control or assign for this function is not F1, which is showing up over here as default. I'm going to go ahead and select on that, and we're going to come over here to F5. So I want to use F5 to actually start the auto tracking. So let's go ahead and select F5. And now over here, we're going to scroll down to the next option, which says default function. So what do you want when you press this camera 5/F5 to do? Do you want to just call up a camera like it was doing previously, or do you want it specifically to call up a function? So in this case, we're going to select function because I wanted to do a specific function. So now we get to pick from over here, assign the function. What function do we want it to do? And as you see, we have over here selected AI tracking start. Perfect. That's how I have it configured. But if we wanted to, we can assign it to AI tracking stop. We can assign it to horizontally flip the image. We can also vertically flip the image, which this is also a nice one. Maybe you have your camera mounted to the ceiling upside down, so you can easily and quickly flip the image if you need to. We can freeze the image. We can reset the camera. We can also power on and power off the camera as well by just simply assigning one of these buttons. Okay, so in this case, as you guys saw, I want function 5 to start the AI tracking of that camera. And next over here, we have CMD ID, and we don't need to actually do anything in this setting over here for right now because the function that I want to assign is actually labeled over here. But if the function that I wanted to assign to this PTZ camera was not labeled over here, I can scroll down to one of these CMDs, for an example, all the way from command 1 all the way to command 7, and we can actually custom configure by adding the CMD packet. So basically a special code that tells the command to the camera via the controller. So in this case, like I said, we're just going to stick with AI tracking start. But if you wanted to set up a specific command to that camera, which was not listed over there underneath the assigned function, you can go ahead over here, for an example, to command 1, and then you can edit that command by entering that packet number over there. And that's exactly what I did, for an example, for the OBSBOT tail 2 to start the auto tracking and stop the auto tracking. So for now, we'll just exit out of there. Tally switch configuration, again, it's not really related right now as far as the function button, but if we wanted to, again, this controller does support the tally switching. We can either send it as, for an example, like an output or an input. Let's go ahead and exit out of here for now. And we got the tally follow, for an example, just to get you guys a little bit more familiar. We can set it to none or follow the PGM. So in most cases, I would set it to PGM. But again, these settings over here regarding tally, it has nothing to do with assigning the function button. button. Let's continue over here to command intervals. This is by default set to 30 milliseconds. I just left it as that. And again, now we want to go ahead and save and exit. Perfect. So now that we've configured within the menu for the F5 button to start the auto tracking and F4 to stop the auto tracking, let's go ahead and press F5 so we can start the auto tracking. As you can see, the PTZ camera is actually moving to the start position, the start area for the auto tracking. So now I can go ahead and move around, and this camera is going to follow me. And now we're going to go ahead and stop the auto tracking by pressing the F4. And bingo, F4 auto tracking is now stopped. So when I move around, the camera is not tracking me. And to turn it back on, same idea, turn it back on, move around, camera is tracking again, just like that. Very cool. So let's go ahead and turn the auto tracking off. So another cool feature that I wanted to show you guys, this camera is actually going to allow us to record our joystick movements. So what does that mean? Well, we can actually start recording the joystick movements that we make. So we can go to this position, zoom in, we can zoom out, we can pan it and tilt it to another position, zoom in, zoom out, hold it for maybe 2 or 5 seconds, whatever we want, and then turn it to another random position. We can actually save all of those movements and then actually let the controller move the PTZ camera automatically because it just saved, it just recorded those movements that we just did with the PTZ camera. So let me go ahead and actually demonstrate this because this is a really nice feature, along with being able to put this recording playback of all of those movements on loop. So literally it can just continuously loop all of those specific movements that you just did. So for us to actually record and save these joystick movements onto the controller, we need to turn off this quick call feature over here. So let's just turn that off. And now we want to go ahead and select any one of these buttons. For this example, I'm going to use number 1. I'm going to basically save and record this joystick movement that I'm going to do to number 1. So how do we do this? How do we start recording our movements? You want to press any number you want. In this case, we're going to press number 1. And now we need to press and hold the preset button. So let's press and hold it. It says, please wait. Okay. Now it's gonna prompt us to say that it's tracing the recording. So let's go ahead and start moving this joystick controller. Let's move it over here. We're gonna go ahead and move it up. We're gonna go ahead and zoom in a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and zoom out. We're gonna come over here randomly to, let's say, this position down. Okay, looking good. We're gonna go ahead and zoom in. That looks good. Let's hold this for like maybe 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Now let's go ahead and zoom out. And now we'll find another position that we want to go to. We'll come over here to the Duet 8 ISO. We'll zoom in. We'll hold here for like 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to zoom out. Perfect. So now we are done recording that movement. Now what we need to do is go ahead and press and hold this preset button. So the recording is now complete. So all of those movements that we just did, it is just save them. So now for us to call up those presets, we can go ahead and do that by just simply pressing the number that we saved it to and pressing and holding the call button. First, before we had to do that, I want to show you within the menu that we can set this recording to a loop. So it's going to continuously loop. So let's come over here and we're going to go to right over here to the function button, and we're going to scroll down to trace loop, and you can see I have it on. So those recording that I just saved, now when I play it back, it's going to continuously go through all of those different movements on a loop. So now we can go ahead and exit out of here. Okay, and now let's call up that recording that I just saved by pressing number 1 and holding down the call button. The camera is going to go back to the original position. It says, please wait. And starting from right now, it's playback on loop. This is the first position that I went to. Remember, I zoomed in a bit. I zoomed back out. I went to the box over here. And again, my hands are totally off this controller. It's doing everything on its own. It is saved all of these movements right here onto the controller that I just did with the joystick. I held it there for about 3 seconds. I zoomed back out and I came over here to the Duet 8 ISO, repositioned, zoomed in, held it there for a couple of seconds. I zoomed back out, and then from there I kind of got a little bit carried away and started talking, and there you go. Now it went back to the preset position at the beginning of that recording, and just like that, the loop activated. It is doing it all over again. It can continuously do this on loop for as long as you want. So at any time, if you wanted to interrupt this playback of the recording that you just saved, you can just go ahead and simply use this joystick controller over here and start manually taking over the PTZ camera. So I'll give you an example. Once the camera starts moving, it's just zoomed out, and boom, I want to take over, no problem. Here we go, I just took over, and now I have control of this PTZ camera all over again. Very cool. So that actually reminds me, we do also have further control regarding the zoom for the PTZ camera. So not only can we do over here onto the joystick itself, we do have this little seesaw, little rocker switch over here that's going to allow us, for an example, to zoom in and to also zoom out for the PTZ camera that we have control of. So another thing I just wanted to quickly have a closer look at over here is the manual focus controls via this knob over here, which is going to allow us to focus manually on something near or far. And again, we do have control of the focus speed over here. Right now it's currently set to 60. So why don't we go ahead and go over to the focus speed. We'll just go ahead and bring it all the way up to like 100% for an example. And now we're actually going to take control of the focus of this camera number 1 over here. So how do we do that? Right over here with this little dial. So you can see now I can bring the focus either further away or near back, and for whatever reason, if I wanted to snap back into autofocus, no problem. Press the autofocus button and boom, the autofocus snaps back in. Really nice control over here of these PTZ cameras. Another cool feature about this controller, we do have another button over here which is labeled as Cam OSD, which is basically the camera's on-screen display. So we can actually pull up the camera's menu by just simply pressing this button over here. So for me to go ahead and demonstrate, I'm just going to go ahead and press it, and bingo, now over here actually onto my monitor that I'm looking at, I can basically see, you can see over here onto the bottom left-hand image, I can see all the controls for the actual camera itself. And now I can go ahead and toggle between all these different controls. For an example, with this joystick, I can go ahead and enter into one of these controls and kind of go and adjust things as I need to on the fly. All right, guys, let's go ahead and switch to camera number 3 again, which is the OBSBOT Tail 2 PTZ camera, because I've also configured over here function button number 7 and function button number 6 to actually start and stop the OBSBOT Tail 2 PTZ camera auto tracking as well. So let's go ahead, camera number 3. Okay, again, as we saw earlier, we have a preview of that camera, and right over here we're going to have controls, for an example, to zoom in as we showed you guys earlier. And what I wanted to show you guys, again, as I just mentioned, I wanted to show you guys that I can start and stop the auto tracking of the OBSBOT Tail 2 PTZ camera right here onto the controller. Go ahead and press the F7 button, which I've configured to start the auto tracking on the Tail 2. Okay, so the auto tracking on the Tail 2 has now been started. You haven't noticed because I haven't moved yet. Let's go ahead and move over here to the side a little bit. And as you can see, the Tail 2 is following me around, doing a great job. Again, I don't really have that much movement over here because I kind of have these soft boxes in the way, but I think you get the general idea. And now for an example, if I wanted to stop the auto tracking, I'm going to press F6. And now the auto tracking has just stopped on the OBSBOT Tail 2. Now when I move around, it is not picking me up anymore. Maybe to demonstrate a little bit more dramatically, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in over here. All right, it's looking pretty good. I zoomed in quite a bit, and now let's go ahead and turn on the auto tracking again. So now it might be a little bit more noticeable because we're a little bit more punched in. So F7, auto tracking is now enabled. I'm going to go ahead and move over here a little bit. Kind of hide behind the softbox, and there you go, guys. There we have it. Not only do we have control of the Tail 2, pan, tilt, zoom, focus, exposure, all this other stuff, but now we can also start and stop the auto tracking. All right, guys, so here we are onto the PC, and I wanted to quickly show you guys how to go onto the web browser for the controller to see what other settings and controls and options we have available. So just go ahead to the network settings onto the controller to see the IP address that the controller has, and we want to enter that in over here. So for an example, 192.168.2. And it's going to bring us over here to the Avkans webpage. And what we want to do over here is enter in the username and password, which by default it is admin, and the password is also admin. So what we're going to do here is log in. And now we have the web page that's going to basically show us the cameras that we have connected to the controller, along with some other settings over here to the left hand side. So for right now, you can see that we're in camera management. We also have network management and also system settings. For an example, we can see the version of the devices, any commands that you can see that I've entered over here. These are the commands for the Tail 2 that I used specifically for starting the auto tracking and stopping the auto tracking. And we have the NDI. We can go ahead and generate a key file. So in case you purchase the controller that does not have NDI and you wanted to purchase NDI, you can generate a key over here for an example and send that to Avkans once you made your payment. And then we can go ahead and select the file authorization once they send back that licensing key code. So for now, we're just going to go over here to camera management. You can see the cameras that I have connected, the LV20 NDI, and we also have the E20 NDI. And here is the OBSBOT Tail 2 camera. So just starting off over here at the top, this camera is connected via Visca IP. We also have the IP address and also the preview RTSP, or right over here, IP address. We can call up this camera, we can edit some settings, or we can delete it. So in this case, we want to call it up, which is going to basically give us a bigger preview over here that we can make bigger full screen and see exactly that RTSP preview from that camera. So now we have the preview of the camera. You can see that we do have some controls over here to actually obviously pan and tilt and zoom it if we need to. And we also can go ahead and configure some of the presets for an example that we can go ahead and save, which is really nice. So we do got some basic controls over here for the camera. And overall, I just wanted to get you guys a little bit more familiar with it. So for an example, same idea over here with the Tail 2, we can go ahead and call up the Tail 2 again because we entered the RTSP IP address, the stream link, the URL, and it's just going to take a second over here to generate the preview for us. And here is the preview. We can go ahead and zoom out, and we have full control of this camera as well, along with the presets. So over here onto the top left, we can also search for any cameras, again, depending on the protocol that you want to search for, and also manually add any cameras. And for an example, if you wanted to edit any settings, for an example, for this camera, the LV20N, we can select edit, and we can go ahead and give it a different name, select a different protocol, and the preview URL over here, IP address, the port, etc. And you can go ahead and save it. So we do have nice control. Easy, simple controls, and easy to access, user-friendly. Overall, pretty impressed that we have another option, another method to control this controller wirelessly. Well, guys, it looks like we reached that time of the video to give you my overall thoughts and review of this Avkans controller. If you guys cannot tell already throughout the course of this video, I'm actually pretty impressed with this controller, the ease of use, all the controls, all the functions, all the options that we have available, the NDI, all the different protocols, and overall, I'm pretty impressed for what we're getting for the price that we're paying. It's definitely worth it. But overall, that's a wrap for today's video. I definitely do appreciate you guys tuning in. Any questions, any comments, let me know down into the comment section down below. And again, don't forget, I did leave some affiliate links down into the description of all the products that I've used throughout the course of this video. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Till next time, peace.